Hello, beautiful souls. How are you guys doing today? I trust you guys are doing fabulous. I just want to welcome you all to another segment of J Culture. I just want to say thank you so much for your love, your support, for subscribing, for sharing, for liking. You guys are just too much. Thank you so much. And please do not forget to turn on your notification button for new videos. Thank you again and thank you. God bless you. I'm so excited for today's class. We're going to be learning another beautiful topic. And the topic is going to be the palazzo pant or the palazzo trouser. And before we dive into the drafting part, we have to know the definition of the palazzo pant. A palazzo pant is a full length, wide leg trouser or pant that is fitted at the waist or high hip and then extends into an extremely loose straight leg with significant volume from the hip all the way down to the hemline or floor length. It is designed to have no taper through the thigh or knee, creating a continuous skirt-like silhouette that moves away from the body. What this means is that the palazzo pants or trouser fits on the waist and high hip and gives it volume or frees out from the hip down to the feet or floor length. So that's the brief explanation of the palazzo pants. The measurements we'll be using: full length 40, waist circumference 30, hip circumference 41, crotch depth 10 and a half, knee circumference 30, knee length 22, ankle circumference 30, thigh circumference 26. For the palazzo pants, the knee circumference varies, okay? And the ankle area, that's the full length, the circumference also varies, so we can use between 25 to 30 inches or even more depending on your fabric and also depend on what you want to make. Okay, so now we're going to dive into the drafting part. Firstly, we have to take the guideline. This will serve as the waistline. We also do same other side, which is just going to serve as a guide while drafting. Now put down the full length of the pants, which is 40. This palazzo is going to be having waistband, so take it up by 1 inch for the waistband. So I'm just going to mark 40 here. Then I'll be using 2 inches for the folding allowance. You can decide to use 1 inch, 1.5 inches, or 2 inches for folding allowance, or even more depending on the design you're working with. So I'm just going to rule out. Having done that, we're going to place the crotch depth. The crotch depth is 10.5 inches. So we're going to take 1 inch apart, then mark 10.5 inches. Then we're going to add half an inch for ease, which will make it 11 inches. The knee length is 22 inches. So we're just going to rule out. I'll label waist length or waistline rather. Crotch depth line. Knee line. Full length. Now we'll take the hip depth which is 8 inches. Remember to take 1 inch above the waistline, okay? So label hip line. Having done that, I'll take the circumference of the hip, which is 41. 41 divided by 4. This is how we divide it. 41 divided by 4 will give us 10 1/4 inches. So mark 10 1/4 inches here. Then take it down to the crotch depth line. Then we'll connect it. Remember, the palazzo pants is not a fitted pants. It's something that has to be, free, okay? So it's not something that has to fit your body. It has to be very free from your high tie down to the hemline or the full length. Okay, I haven't done this. We're going to take the measurement of the waist circumference. The waist circumference is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give us 7.5. Then I'll add half an inch for ease. Then I'll add 1 inch for that intake. You can decide not to add 1 inch for that intake, okay? So I'm just going to connect it to the hip line. Then from here, we have 9 inches now. We'll take the midpoint of the waist to mark the dart intake. So this is the midpoint. From the midpoint, we'll take it in by half an inch. Then we'll take it in here by half an inch to make it 1 inch dart intake. So we'll take it down by 3 inches. We'll make a straight line to connect it, then a triangle line for the dart intake. Having done that, we're going to take the measurements of the thigh. The thigh is 26. 26 divided by 2 give us 13.5 inches. So mark 13.5 inches, 13 rather. So mark 13 here. Let me extend the line. Here we have to get the extension, okay? So the thigh is 26. 26 divided by 2 give us 13 inches. Because we're not going to be sewing, we don't want to draft something that will be fitted. We are drafting the palazzo pants. So we have to give room for it. So you can decide to add 1 inch room, or you can decide to add 2 inches, 1.5 inches, depend on how the ankle circumference is going to look like, okay? That's the bottom circumference is going to look like. Here we are using 30 for the circumference of the bottom, and we are using 30 for the knee circumference. You can also decide to reduce the knee circumference by 1 inch, okay? It's still going to give you what you want to get. So we're going to be using 15 inches, 15 for the thigh, okay? So we're going to give it room after taking the measurement of your fitted thigh. So we're going to add some inches to complete it. So we'll be adding 2 inches, which will make it 15 inches, okay? So for here, this palazzo, you don't need to add any ease again at the extension area because it's already big, okay? You don't need to add any ease again, but you can still add half an inch if you so desire, okay? So that you have your complete measurement. You can add it if you feel the palazzo is not big enough for you. You can add half an inch for ease. You can decide not to add half an inch for ease. You still get your results, okay? So here we have 15 inches. So we'll come down here to the knee and also mark. I haven't gotten this. We'll just add half an inch for ease, okay? It's better that way. You can decide to reduce it while you're sewing it, okay? So we're having 15.5 inches at the thigh area. Then you come down, you just mark the midpoint. Okay, let me make it easier here. Mark the midpoint. The midpoint will be having 7.5 inches. So we'll be having 7.5 inches here. Okay, and 7.5 inches here. Then you draw out your line. And again, without drawing the straight line, you can just decide to, you know, decide to mark your 15 inches here. Okay, so you still get your 15 inches here. You decide to mark it from this area, the hip area, down to get your 15 inches. Here you get your 15 inches. You can take it down to the hemline, but I love to take my chances by using my midpoint line, that's the grain line, to mark the 15 inches. Okay, I love it that way. You can call me an old school person, but I love it that way. So we'll do same on the ankle area. That's the full length to get the 15 inches. Here we have the 15 inches. So all we need to do is to connect it with a straight loop ruler from the hemline to the knee with a straight ruler. Here is already 15 inches, so there is no need. Then we use our curve ruler, the hip curve ruler. Use the hip curve ruler to connect it to this area. So you can see the palazzo trouser is very easy to draft and make. Very, very easy. You can see. So to get the angle area, that's curve area, from this angle you just take it up by 1 inch or 1 inches or 1.5 inches. Okay, so here we'll be using 1 inches. We just have to connect it with the curve ruler. You can use your armhole curve ruler or your multi-purpose ruler, the curve area, or you can use your armhole curve ruler, whichever one you have. Make sure they meet. Okay, we are almost done with the front pant. So here we'll come down by 1 inch or half an inch or 1.5 inches, depending on what you want to achieve. Okay, so here we're coming down by 1 inch, and I'll connect it to the hip side of the waist, or to the waist side of the hip. So this is what we'll be having for the palazzo pant. Okay, and if you want to mark your pocket, you can just measure it from the waist down to 5 inches, between 5 to 6 inches depth. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to mark for the opening of the pocket. Then if you want to add your band, maybe it could be elastic band or just a normal round band or band with loop, you can add to it. Okay, so if you want to add elastic band, make sure that the all the sewing seam allowance and the extra band intake has to be at the back pattern of the pants. Okay, so remember, we are not adding any sewing seam allowance here at the front pants. We're not adding any sewing seam allowance, but if you still want to add to the front pants, all you need to do is to add 1 inch sewing seam allowance. Okay, so that is all for the front palazzo pant. Before we cut out, if you feel that the hip is too small for your client, or if you're making it for yourself or anybody, okay, what you need to do is to add 2 to 3 inches around the hip area. Okay, make sure that the waist is the same as your waist. Okay, and the hip can be 2 to 3 inches bigger than your waist. Here you can just divide the hip. That's if you're adding 2 inches to 41, it will give us 43 inches for the hip. Okay, and if we're adding 3 inches, for adding 2 inches, it will give us 43. If you're adding 3 inches, it will give us 44. So we'll be using 43. So if we divide 43 by 4, it will give us 10 3/4 inches. Okay, 10 3/4 inches. So all you need to do is to mark 10 3/4 inches here up to the waist. Then you connect it Having done that, then you take the waist measurement again. So from here, we're going to take the waist measurement. The waist measurement is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give us 7.5 inches. So mark 7.5 inches here. Then half an inch for ease will make it 8 inches. Then 1 inch for that intake will make it 9 inches. So we are automatically removing half an inch from the former measurement. So all we need to do here is just to connect it to the hip area. Okay. So it's not difficult. It's just simple as this. So we don't need this line anymore. Now we can cut it out, okay? So this is what we have for the front. I'm just going to cut it out. For the folding line, you don't need to fold it behind again because everything here is straight already. So there is no need to fold it behind. So this is what we'll be having for the front palazzo pattern. If you feel that the 30 inches circumference is too much, you can also decide to reduce it. Okay, you can reduce it to whatever size you desire to reduce it. Okay, just know that palazzo pants is loosed, it's not a fitted pant. Okay, know that it's loosed, it's not a fitted pant. From your normal fitted measurements, you can add 2 inches or 3 inches depending on what you want to achieve for the palazzo pant. So now we're going to draft the back pant, okay? Now we're going to draft the back palazzo pant pattern. I'm going to draw the guideline. So I'm not going to give any space at the top of the paper, okay? Because we're not going to be using it because of the buttocks of the client, okay? So we're not going to be using it. I'm going to place the measurement, which is 40. I'll move 1 inch from the waistline. Then I'll mark 40 inches. Then 2 inches for folding allowance. I'll just rule out. Having done that, I'll take the crotch depth, which is 10.5 inches, then half an inch for ease, which is 11 inches. I'll take the hip depth, which is 8 inches. I'll take the knee length, which is 22 inches. I'm just going to extend it. If you don't know how to take the knee length, maybe you forget to take the measurement, is in our previous class video. So you can just go and watch it from there. So I'll label waistline, hip line, crotch depth, line, knee line, full length. Having done that, I'll take the hip circumference. You know, we added 2 inches to the hip circumference. Here we have 41 inches as the hip circumference. We now added 2 inches to it to make it 43 inches because the hip is a little bit too fitted. Okay, so you can add volume to it. If you still want to um you want to keep the hip circumference like that, you want to maintain it to be your hip circumference. Remember, the palazzo is to give it volume from the high hip area down to the full length. Okay, so we'll be using 43 for the hip circumference, not 41 again. Okay, we did 41, so I explained it when we did the front pattern. So make sure to listen well so you don't get confused. Okay, so I'm going to be using 43. You can also decide to maintain the 41. Okay, you will still get the same result. I'll take it up to the waist. Have done that, we'll take the thigh circumference, which is 26 divided by 2 will give us 13. Then we added 2 inches for the palazzo width. Okay, 2 inches to give it room, to give it volume. Let me extend the line to give it volume for the palazzo fit. After adding half an inch for ease, so added 2 inches. Then from here we have 15. Okay, so we'll just mark 15 here, then 15 here. Then we'll connect it with our straight ruler. And here we'll connect it with the hip curve ruler. Having done that, we'll come to the cross depth line. We'll take it down by half an inch. Take it down by half an inch. Then we'll take the measurement again to make sure we are accurate with it. That's 15 inches. Then half an inch for ease. So we are very correct. Now come to the waist. We have the waist as 30. 30 divided by 4 will give us 7.5. Then half an inch for ease. The 1 inch for that intake. So connect it to the hip. Now come to the back, that's the center back. To get the midpoint of the hip depth, of the crotch depth. So we're just going to, we have 11 divided by 2 will give us 5.5 inches. So here is the midpoint of the crotch depth. Remember, here is the crotch length line. Okay, please do not forget. Then from this center back waist, we take it in by 1 inch. Take it in by 1 inch. Then we'll connect it with a straight line to the midpoint. Having done that, we'll come to this angle. We'll take it up by 2 inches. But to this very first angle, this crush depth line, okay, not the second one. We'll take it up by 2 inches from the angle. Then we'll connect it to this second crush depth line and to the midpoint of the center back. Make sure they meet. So here becomes the crush, this curve area becomes the crush extension. Okay. So now we can start adding our sewing seam allowance. Remember, we did not add it to the front, so we are going to transfer it to the back. So we're going to add 2 inches sewing seam allowance, 1 inch for the front and 1 inch for the back, making it 2 inches. So I'm going to extend this line. And take it down to the full length of the pants. Then you use your curve ruler to connect it from the knee line to the extension line. So this is what we'll be having for the back palazzo pants. If you feel that it's too wide at the knee area, you can decide to reduce it from the front pattern first before you reduce it at the back pattern. Okay, whatever you feel that is making it look like the palazzo is too big for you, make sure you do the correction at the front pattern before you do it to the back pattern. Now we're going to add the sewing seam allowance here, 2 inches here too, 2 inches at the midpoint, then 2 inches at the waist area. Like I said earlier, if you want to add elastic to the waistband, all you need to do is just to add 3 inches at the waist, just the waist. Add only 3 inches at the waist of the back pattern, okay? With any trouser you're making, whether a palazzo trouser or a basic pant, okay? Make sure to add 3 inches at the back waist, not the front. 3 inches at the back waist to give it that elastic volume, okay? So you can just mark it here, 3 inches here, and you're good to go. But we're not going to be adding elastic, so we're going to do with these very points. These very 2 inches we marked there. So we're going to connect it with our straight ruler to the midpoint of the center front. Then with the curve ruler to the cross extension. You can see the way I'm placing the ruler so we don't get confused. So this is what we'll be having for the back palazzo pant. This is all about the palazzo pant, okay? So like I was saying about the elastic, if you want to add elastic to it, all you need to do is to make the waist, from the measurement of the waist, just add 3 inches, okay? Not 2 inches, okay? 3 inches. Then you connect it to the midpoint line, which is 5.5 inches. You know it's 11 inches depth. So you connect it like so. Make sure this area is curved, is blended, not looking sharp. So this is all you do, okay? So this is just the normal seam allowance, 2 inches seam allowance. And this is for elastic. That is for elastic. So you see how it goes. Now we can cut out. Okay, before we cut out, let's mark the midpoint of the dart. We have 8 divided by 2 will give us 4. Take it down by 4 inches. Please, if you want to add elastic, we have two options, but I would suggest that you don't put that. Okay, I would suggest you don't put that, but you can still put that if you want to, but I don't like putting that when I want to add elastic. So half inch here to give it 1 inch dart intake. So the back pant is ready to be cut. So as you can see, this is the front of the palazzo pant. Front pant. And this is the back. So when you place them together, you see, you can see. So that is the allowance for the sewing seam of both the front and the back pants, okay? So this is all about the palazzo pants. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notification button for more videos. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. See you in our next class. Bye.